Good morning, everyone. So I wanted to continue with my lectures on the final PPE report instructions. And so today I'm going to focus on the content area essays. And so that is the second section of the final PPE report. And what I have pulled up here on the screen is that PPE manual, okay? So this is, as you can see, this section includes 5 content area essays, okay? I'm going to scroll down to the instructions so I can go through each of these. Okay. So these are just intended to kind of guide you a little bit and help you maybe focus a little bit throughout your PPE, okay? And the other thing is that this is an opportunity for to apply what you've learned and kind of integrate it with your PPE. Okay, that's essentially what I'm looking for here out of these essays. Okay, so each student will address 5 content areas within the final PPE report. Okay, these content areas are located on the content areas and interview questions document located on the CSS HIM PPE website. So right here, okay? So right here. Okay. For each content area, I want you to write a 2 to 3 page double-spaced informative essay. And then you may be like, what is an informative essay? Well, I have it right here. So an informative essay is an academic paper that aims to inform the target audience, which is me, your HIM 4556 instructor, about a content area. Imagine that your audience knows nothing or very little about the content area, okay? So forget that I'm in your instructor, pretend like you're telling somebody that doesn't know anything about HIM about this, okay? So please use first person when writing. So it's okay to say I, okay? Within your paper, that's what first person means. You can refer to yourself throughout. Um, and then instructions and writing prompts have been provided below. And so I'm going to go through those as well. These are just there to help guide you in your writing and help you to think through these different areas, okay? And of course, grammar, spelling, comprehension, and depth will be taken into consideration as I grade them and evaluate them, okay? So for each essay, let's just kind of break that down, kind of like, let's look at all the components of each of these essays. So for each one, I would like an introduction. So this is an introduction to the content area. So telling me what you're going to be telling me about, right? So providing relevant background and specific purpose of the essay. So why did you select the topic? Okay, is a great way to kind of introduce the topic. And then clearly and thoroughly explain the content area, whether it is a person, a role, a process, a project, or a policy, whatever it is that you're going to write about. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that too, about going beyond the content areas that are listed here on the website. Okay. But I don't want to go there quite yet. And then the body of your essay, you should explain the content area that you've chosen. So addressing several writing prompts from below, so 2 to 3 of them, and these are the writing prompts within the body. Each paragraph should provide information that supports the overall purpose of the essay. So contributing to that introduction. So when you told me you were going to tell me about XYZ, then you should tell me about XYZ in the body of your essay, right? And then use appropriate, relevant, and compelling information to illustrate your mastery of the subject and your understanding of the content area. So this is where you're where I'm going to be looking for you to kind of apply what you've learned and relating what you learned back to your courses in your coursework, okay? So explain the relationship of the content area to HIM course content. Answer the question, how did your exploration of the content area connect to your academic work? This could be a project you completed in a previous course, an assignment you completed, an encounter you had with another professional. This could be, gosh, I'm trying to think. This could be something very specific. This content area or this element reminded me of a discussion we had in coding class about XYZ, or a discussion we had in Pam's course on tool management tools and strategies, and those kinds of things. So relating it very specifically back to course content will be very important in these essays, okay? Then I want you to also provide, examples to support that. And so providing 2 examples of course content from, it can also be readings, right? So maybe you read something in a course you took with Madonna on the legal manual or whatever it is, but providing examples and incorporating those into your writing in these essays is also important. So then your conclusion, try to summarize the information you shared, okay? And then concluding thoughts on the content area. I really enjoyed this topic because of XYZ, or I really found this interesting and I'd like to pursue a career in this, or whatever it might be, okay? Or this really piqued my interest about learning more about this area of the hospital, or whatever that can be. So I want you to know that you have the freedom to really write about a lot of different topics here, okay? So while I'm on that subject, let's go over to the content areas and interview questions, okay? So as you all know, these are here to support you in your interviewing when you have when you're meeting with individuals from different areas of an organization, okay? Now, these are just starting points, remember, okay? So if you are, interviewing somebody in the coding area, you might look at this list and say, yeah, those are interesting, but I already know a lot of this stuff. So I'd like to further dive a little bit deeper, right? And further investigate something else within coding. Go ahead, but try to write out your questions in advance so that you are fully prepared for those that, interview. Keep scrolling a little bit here because I believe at the end, I have a separate list here. Sorry, it's taking me a second. I don't want to make you all dizzy, right? This other content areas to consider exploring. So this is just to kind of help you think about different things you could write about, because I don't want you to feel tied into writing about all of the things listed above in this table, okay? So a current project at the organization, a particular role or position that you're interested in, a fascinating meeting that you attended, a software program, a product the organization sells, a management challenge that was shared with you, project management. So maybe just that aspect of managing a project and meeting with somebody that oversees that, a personal lesson you learned while on the PPE. Those are really important, okay? An ethical dilemma that was shared with you or that you saw, advice you received while on your PPE and the thoughts that you had on that. And then how an HIM professional could fulfill a role that currently isn't being filled by an HIM professional. I think you'll see this a lot in healthcare organizations. People kind of work their way up and move into positions, but maybe don't have an HIM background, which is just fine. But maybe exploring that and finding out what skills an HIM professional or somebody with a degree in HIM could bring to the table for that position. Okay. So those are just some other ideas for you in terms of what you could write about. But honestly, if you have any questions, don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. Sending me a quick email saying, hey, I'm thinking about writing about this for my content area. Is that okay? Perfect. I will definitely give you my opinion on that. Okay. All right, so then I'm just going to scroll down again here to the content areas. And so I want you to look through these writing prompts. So these are just to help you think about what you can write about. Okay, again, so say that you choose, let's just say that you chose to write about a role that you found interesting. Okay, some of these writing prompts are going to be relevant and some aren't. But these are just ways to get you to think about what you could write about, especially if you're kind of like have writer's block, right? So the really to the macro question that you're answering in these 5 essays is so what? So right. So you found this job or this role interesting. So what? Tell me about it, right? So who does it affect? Okay, so in the case of a role, which departments does this role interact with, right? What impact does it have, or what effect does it have on patient care? What role in patient care does it have, or along the revenue cycle, whatever that is. So thinking through that, how might it be useful? How is this role useful to the organization? And then how did your exploration of the content area connect to your academic work? Okay, this should be kind of something, actually this macro question is probably applicable to every single content area and is really kind of essential, right? This is kind of your introductory paragraph, and then the further exploration and how it connects to your academic work would be more in the body of your, okay? So who is involved in the content area? Who is impacted by the content area or role? Who is leading the content area? What is the content area? Provide background and set the stage. What can this content area do to the organization? Positive, negative. Exploring those things are really great. What if this person messes up in their role? Then what happens? Why is it so important, right? Why is this content area of interest to you? Why did you choose to write about it? Why is it important to the organization? Why is it important to the HIM professional or someone managing data? Why is this content area working, not working? Those kinds of things. So if it's a project that's going well or not going well, is it maybe a workflow that you're like, this isn't really working and here's why, right? And then when does this content area occur? So take place, is timing essential to this content area? When does this content area arise? Like if it's a, um, I'm trying to think of a good example here. If it's a process or a policy, those kinds of things, that would, these questions would associate with that. Where does this content area take place? Virtually, at the organization, at a customer site. Where does this content area come into play in terms of daily operations, monthly events, meetings, etc.? So really thinking about how those content areas interact and incorporate into the organization. How does this content area work? So if it's an actual process or something that you're telling me about, like a policy or procedure, tell me really how it works. Explain it in detail, okay? Some other thoughts to consider writing about: how does the content area relate to the HIM professional or a HIM professional skill set? I talked a little bit about that earlier. How does the content area relate to data management? Okay. Does the topic impact quality of care or patient safety? If so, how? Does the content area relate to something you learned in your education at CSS, maybe a class you took or an assignment or project you completed? How does the content area relate to you personally, your career path, your professional goals? Okay. Could the content area impact organizational compliance with state or federal guidelines, other accrediting or regulating bodies? The other thought I just had would be even maybe in relation to the AHIMA Code of Ethics or the Benedictine values and associating and drawing on those, okay? So lots of ways you can take these essays, and I'm sure you will all do great with them, especially if you're working through all of these detailed questions. I know that you're going to be able to fully develop your essays. So below this is also a grading rubric. I'm going to use this rubric to grade every single essay, okay? So this is not like a comprehensive, like, okay, I'm just gonna compile all essays 1 through 5, and then use this rubric as like an overarching grading rubric. I'm actually going to use this for each one, okay? And I'll give you an individual score on each essay. So make sure that you're fully developing each essay according to this rubric and not just kind of winging it, okay? I hope that makes sense. All right, this recording is long enough. On to the next one, okay? Have a great weekend, everyone.